that Rachel was written over 100 years ago and includes some racial epithets that are intrinsic to the play. And now it is with pleasure that I turn it over to Tanika Baptiste and the cast of Rachel.
Dear, oh my dear.
Look out for the needle, Rachel, the waist. Oh, Rachel.
You old fraud. You know you adore being hugged. I have a good mind.
Now, Rachel, please. Besides, I know your tricks. You think you can make me forget you are late? What time is it?
Jiminy Christmas. Why, it's 5 o'clock.
Well.
Now, my dear, you're going to be horrid and cross.
Really, Rachel? That expression is not particularly affecting when your hat is over your ear and you look with your hair over your eyes exactly like someone's pet poodle. I wonder if you are ever going to grow up and be ladylike.
Oh, my dear, I hope not. Not for the longest time. 2 long years at least. I just want to be silly and irresponsible and have you to love and torment. And of course, Tom, too.
You'll not make me forget, young lady. Why are you late, Rachel?
Well, my dear, I'm your pet poodle and my hat is over my ear and I'm late for the loveliest reason.
Don't be silly, Rachel.
That may sound silly, but it isn't. And please, don't Rachel me so much. It was honestly 1 whole hour ago when I opened the front door downstairs. I know it was because I heard the postman telling someone it was 4 o'clock. Well, I climbed the first flight and it was just starting up the second when a little shrill voice said, "Lo." I raised my eyes and there halfway up the stairs sitting in the middle of a step was just the dearest, cutest, darlingest little brown baby boy you ever saw. "Lo yourself," I said. "What are you doing and who are you anyway?" "I'm Jimmy and I'm riding to New York on the choo-choo tars." As he looked entirely too young to be going such a distance by himself, I asked him if I might go too. For a minute or two, he considered the question me very seriously. And then he said, "S?" and made room for me on the step beside him. Oh, we've been everywhere. New York, Chicago, Boston, London, Paris, and Oshkosh. Oh, I wish you could have heard him say that last place. I suggested going there just to hear him. Now, my dear, is it any wonder I am late? See all the places we have been in just 1 teeny weeny hour? We would have been traveling yet, but his horrid little mother came out and called him in. They're in the flat below. The new people? But before he went, my dear, he said the cunningest thing. He said, "Will you come out again and play with me in 2 minutes?" I nearly hugged him to death. And it's a wonder my hat is on my head at all. Hats are such unimportant nuisances anyway.
Unimportant nuisances? What ridiculous language you do use, Rachel. Well, I'm no prophet, but I see very distinctly what is going to happen. This little brown baby will be living here night and day. You're not happy unless some child is trailing along in your rear.
Now, my dear, who's the hypocrite? What? I suppose you don't like children? I can tell you one thing, though. It won't be my fault if he isn't here night and day. Oh, I wish he were all mine, every bit of him. My dear, do you suppose that she-woman he calls mother would let him come up here until it's time for him to go to bed? I'm going down there right this minute.
Rachel, for heaven's sake, no! I am entirely too busy and tired today without being bothered with the child romping around in here.
Very well. My dear,
Well,
is there anything wrong today?
I'm just tired, chickabiddy. That's all.
My dear, it's some man.
It is probably Mrs. Strong's son. She said she would send for it this afternoon.
Mrs. Loving? My name is Strong. My mother asked me to come by and get her waist this afternoon. She hoped it would be finished.
Yes, Mr. Strong. It is all ready. If you'll sit down a minute, I'll wrap it up for you.
Do sit down, Mr. Strong. It is a very pleasant day, isn't it, Mr. Strong?
Yes, very.
It's quite a climb up to our flat, don't you think?
Why, no. It didn't strike me, so I'm not old enough yet to mind stairs.
Oh, I didn't mean that you are old. Anyone can see that you are quite young, that is. Of course, not too young, but there, see, I don't blame you for laughing. I'm always clumsy just like that. You see, when you're poor, you have to live in a top flat. There is always a compensation, though. We have nice air, better lights, a lovely view, and nobody thudding up and down over our heads night and day. The people below have our thudding, and it must be something awful, especially when Tom and I play Ivanhoe and we have a tournament up here. We're entirely too old, but we still play. Medea rather dreads the climb up the 3 flights, so Tom and I do all the errands. We don't mind climbing the stairs, particularly when we go up 2 or 3 at a time. That is, Tom still does. I can't. Medea, stop me. I've got to grow up, it seems.
It is rather hard being a girl.
Oh no, it's not hard at all. That's the trouble. They won't let me be a girl. I'd love to be.
My chatterbox, I see, is entertaining you, Mr. Strong. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, but I forgot I found to sew the ruching in the neck. I hope everything is satisfactory. If it isn't, I'll be glad to make any changes.
Thank you, Mrs. Loving. I'm sure everything is all right.
He was rather nice, wasn't he, my dear? For a man. I guess my reason's a vain one. He let me do all the talking. Strong. My dear, is his mother the little woman with the sad black eyes?
Yes. I was rather curious, I confess, to see this son of hers. The whole time I'm fitting her, she talks of nothing else. She worships him. It's rather a sad case, I believe. She is a widow. Her husband was a doctor and left her a little money. She came up from the South to educate this boy. Both of them worked hard, and the boy got through college. 3 months he hunted for work that a college man might expect to get. You see, he had the tremendous handicap of being colored. As the 2 of them had to live, one day, without her knowing it, he hired himself out as a waiter. He has been one now for 2 years. He is evidently goodness itself to his mother.
Just because he's colored? We sing a song at school, I believe, about the land of the free and the home of the brave. What an amusing nation it is.
Come, Rachel. You haven't time for amusing nations. Remember, you haven't practiced any this afternoon. And put your books away. Don't leave them on the table. You didn't practice any this morning either, did you?
No, my dear, I didn't wake up in time. My dear, just listen to this lullaby. It's the sweetest thing. I was so daffy over it. One of the girls at school lent it to me. Baby's boats, the silver moon, sailing in the sky, sailing o'er the sea of sleep, while the clouds float by. Sail, baby, sail, out upon that sea. Only don't forget to sail back again to me. Baby's fishing for a dream, fishing near and far. His line a silver moonbeam is, his bait a silver star. My dear, it's so beautiful. It hurts.
Yes, dear. It is pretty.
My dear,
Yes, Rachel?
what's the matter?
Matter? What do you mean?
I don't know. I just feel something is not quite right with you.
I'm only tired. That's all.
Perhaps, but my dear, wouldn't it be nice if we could keep all the babies in the world always little babies? Then they'd be always little and cunning and lovable, and they could never grow up then and be bad. I'm so sorry for mothers whose little babies grow up and are bad.
Come, Rachel. What experience have you had with mothers whose babies have grown up to be bad? You talk like an old woman.
I know I'm not old, but just the same, I know that is true. And I'm so sorry for the mothers.
Well, Miss Methuselah, how do you happen to know all this? Mothers whose babies grow up to be bad don't, as a rule, parade their faults before the world.
I think the loveliest thing of all the lovely things in this world is just being a mother.
Well, of all the startling children, Rachel, I am getting to feel when you're around as though I'm shut up with dynamite. What next? Why so serious, Chickabiddy?
It is not kind to laugh at sacred things. When you laughed, it was as though you laughed at God.
Rachel,
It's true. It was the best in me that said that. It was God. God spoke to me through someone, and I believe. And it has explained so much to me. I know now why I just can't resist any child. I have to love it. It calls me, it draws me. I want to take care of it, wash it, dress it, live for it. I want to feel its little warm body against me and its breath on my neck and its hands on my face. My dear, here's something I don't understand. I love the little black and brown babies best of all. There's something about them that clutches at my heart. Why should they be so pathetic? I don't understand. It's dim. More than the other babies, I feel that I must protect them. They're in danger, but from what? I don't know. I've tried so hard to understand, but I can't. My dear, I think Their white teeth and the clear whites of their big black eyes and their dimples just everywhere. And my dear, because I love them best, I pray God every night to give me, when I grow up, little black and brown babies to protect and guard. Now, my dear, don't you see why you must never laugh at me again? Dear, my dear.
And I suppose my experience is every mother's. Sooner or later, of a sudden, she finds her own child a stranger to her. Poor little girl. Poor little chickabiddy.
Why do you say poor little girl like that? I don't understand. What? My dear, I never saw tears in your eyes before. Is it because you know the things I do not understand? Oh, it is that.
Yes, Rachel. And I cannot save you.
My dear, you frighten me. Save me from what?
Just life, my little chickabiddy.
Is life so terrible? I had found it mostly beautiful. How can life be terrible when the world is full of little children?
Oh, Rachel. Rachel.
My dear, what have I said?
Why, the truth, of course, Rachel. Life is not terrible when there are little children, and you, and Tom, and a roof over our heads, and work, and food, and clothes, and sleep at night. Rachel, I am not myself today. I'm tired. Forget what I've said. Come, chickabiddy, wipe your eyes and smile. That's only an imitation smile, but it's better than none. Jump up now and light the lamp for me, will you? Tom's late, isn't he? I shall want you to go too for the rolls and pie for supper.
Where's the money, my dear? I'm ready.
You wouldn't fit to be a president, but after he for a dozen brown rolls, Rachel. Be sure they're brown. And I guess an apple pie. As you and Tom never seem to get enough apple pie, get the largest she has. And here is a quarter. Get some candy. Any kind you like, chickabiddy. Let's have a party tonight. I feel extravagant. Why, Rachel, why are you crying?
Nothing, dear, my dear. I'll be all right when I get out in the air. Goodbye.
No, Ma. Where's Sis? Out? The door's off the latch.
Rachel just went after the rolls and pie. She'll be back in a few minutes. You're late, Tommy.
No, Ma, you forget. It's payday. Here, Ma.
Tommy, this is every bit of it. You'll need some.
Not yet. I only wish. Say, Ma, I hate to see you work so hard. Someday I...
Son, I'm as proud as though you had given me $1 million.
I may someday, you see. Gee, Ma, I'm hungry. What's for dinner? Smells good.
Lamb and dumplings and rice.
Gee, I'm glad to be living. I too.
Apple pie, Tommy.
Say, Ma, don't wake me up. And shall Mother's own little boy help set the table?
Thank you, son.
Ma,
Yes, son.
I made squad today. I'm quarterback. 5 other fellas tried to make it. We'll all have to buy new hats now.
Buy new hats? Why?
Honest, Ma, I had to carry my hat in my hand tonight. Couldn't even get into perch a lot.
Well, I, for one, son, am not going to say anything to make you more conceited.
You don't have to say anything. Why, Ma, ever since I told you, you can almost look down your own back. Your head is so high. What?
Oh, my. That was a dreadful climb, wasn't it? Hello, Tommy. Here, take these things for me. This is Jimmy. Isn't he dear? Come, Jimmy. My dear, this is my brown baby. I'm going to take him right downstairs again. His mother is as sweet as can be. And let me bring him up just to see you. Jimmy, this is my dear. My dear, what is the matter? Tom, quick.
Nothing, dears. Nothing. I am nervous tonight. How do you do, Jimmy? Now, Rachel, perhaps don't you think you had better take him back to his mother? Good night, Jimmy. Tom, open that window, please. Whew. There. That's better. What a fool I am.
You're all pegged out. That's the trouble. Working entirely too hard. Can't you stop for the night and go to bed right after supper?
I'll see, Tommy dear. Now, I must look after the supper.
Why do you suppose she acted so strangely about Jimmy?
Don't know. Nervous, I guess. Worn out. I wish.
It may be that, but she hasn't been herself this afternoon. I wonder, look out, here she comes.
Liven her up. Ma, some good cook, isn't she?
Oh, is she? Delmonico's isn't in it.
Say, Rachel, do you remember that Reynolds boy in the 4th year?
Yes, you mean the one who's flat-nosed, freckled, and who squints and sneers?
The same.
Oh, I hate him.
Rachel, you do use such violent language. Why hate him?
I do, that's all.
Ma, if you saw him just once, you'd understand. No one likes him, but then what can you expect? His father's in quad doing time for something. I don't know just what. One of the fellas says he has a real decent mother, though. She never mentions him in any way, shape, or form, he says. Hard on her, isn't it? Bet I keep my head shut, too. You'd never get a yap out of me. Well, anyway, he called me nigger today. If his face isn't black, his eye is.
Oh, good. Oh, why did you let the other one go?
I knew he said other things behind my back, but today he was hopping mad because I made quarterback and he did it.
Tommy, how lovely. My dear, did you hear that? Our Tommy's on the team. Our Tommy's on the team. I have a good mind to kiss you.
Don't you dare.
I will.
No, you don't, young lady.
For heaven's sake, children, do stop playing and eat your supper.
I will.
You won't.
Tom and Rachel, I have been trying to make up my mind for some time whether a certain thing is my duty or not. Today, I have decided it is. You are old enough now, and I see you want to be told. Do you know what day this is? It's the 16th of October. Does that mean anything to either of you?
No.
No. I don't know why it should. 10 years ago, today, your father and your half-brother died.
I do remember now that you told us it was in October.
That explains today.
Yes, Rachel. Do you know how they died?
Why, no.
Oh.
Did it ever strike you as strange that they died the same day?
Well, yes.
We often wondered, Tom and I, but But somehow we never quite dare to ask you. You always refuse to talk about them, you know, my dear?
Do you think that perhaps the reason I wouldn't talk about them was because I was ashamed of them?
Well, my dear, we did wonder.
And you thought,
Well,
yes,
Oh, come now, Rachel. You know we haven't bothered about it at all. Why would we? We've been happy.
but when you have thought, you've been ashamed. Have you?
Now, Ma, aren't you making a lot out of nothing?
No. You evade, both of you. You have been ashamed. And I never dreamed until today you could take it this way. How blind, how almost criminally blind I have been.
oh, my dear, don't.
Tom and Rachel,
Ah,
My dear?
they were lynched.
Lynched?
it's
Yes, by Christian people in a Christian land. We found out afterwards they were all church members in good standing, the best people. Your father was a man among men. He was a fanatic. He was a saint.
Ma, will you tell us about it?
I believe it to be my duty. When I married your father, I was a widow. My little George was 7 years old. From the very beginning, he worshiped your father. He followed him around just like a little dog. All children were like that with him. I myself had never seen anybody like him. Big seems to fit him better than any other word. He was big-bodied, big-souled. His loves were big and his hates. You can imagine then how the wrongs of the Negro ate into his soul. He was utterly fearless. He edited and owned for several years a small Negro paper. In it, he said a great many daring things. I used to plead with him to be more careful. I was always afraid for him. For a long time, nothing happened. He was too important to the community. And then, one night, 10 years ago, a mob made up of the respectable people in the town lynched an innocent Black man. And what was worse, they knew him to be innocent. A white man was guilty. I never saw your father so wrought up over anything. He couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. He brooded night and day over it. And then, realizing fully the great risk he was running, although I begged him not to, and all his friends also, he deliberately, calmly went to work and published a most terrific denunciation of that mob. The old prophets in the Bible were not more terrible than he. A day or two later, he received an anonymous letter, very evidently from an educated man, calling upon him to retract his words in the next issue. If he refused, his life was threatened. The next week's issue contained an arraignment as frightful, if not more so, than the previous one. Each word was white-hot searing. That night, some dozen men, masked men, came to our house.
Oh, my dear. My dear.
We were not asleep, your father and I. They broke down the front door and made their way to our bedroom. Your father kissed me and took up his revolver. It was always loaded. They broke down the door. I tried to shut my eyes. I could not. 4 masked men fell. They did not move anymore after a little. Your father was finally overpowered and dragged out. In the hall, My little 17-year-old George tried to rescue him. Your father begged him not to interfere. He paid no attention. It ended in their dragging them both out. My little George was a man. He never made an outcry. His last words to me were, "Ma, I am glad to go with father." I could only nod to him while they were dragging them down the steps. I crept into the room where you were. You were both asleep. Rachel, I remember, was smiling. I knelt down by you and covered my ears with my hands and waited. I could not pray. I couldn't for a long time afterwards. It was very still when I finally uncovered my ears. The only sounds were the faint rustle of leaves and the tapping of the twig of a tree against the window. I hear it still. Sometimes it was the tree where they were. While I had knelt there waiting, I had made up my mind what to do. I dressed myself, and then I woke you both up and dressed you. We set forth. It was a black, still night, alternately dragging you along and carrying you. I walked 5 miles to the houses of some friends. They took us in, and we remained there until I had seen my dead laid comfortably at rest. They lent me money to come north. I couldn't bring you up in the South. Always remember this. There never lived anywhere or at any time any two more beautiful souls. God gave me one for a husband and one for a son, and I am proud. You must be proud too. Tom, it's time now for you to go to work. Rachel and I will finish up here.
I want you to know, Ma, before I go, how proud I am. Why I did not believe that two people could be like that and live. And to find out that one of them was your own father and the other was your own brother. It's wonderful. I know I'm not much now, Ma, but I just got to be something. When I think of those devils in white skin living out there somewhere happy and free, I see red. Goodbye.
I was afraid of just that. I wondered if I did the wise thing after all.
Yes, my dear, you did. And hereafter, Tom and I share alike with you. To think, my dear, of 10 years of this alone, it's wicked.
And Rachel, about that dear little boy, Jimmy?
No, my dear, tell me tomorrow. You've stood enough for one day.
No, it's better over and done with all at once. If I had seen that dear child suddenly any other day than this, I might have borne it better. When he lifted his little face to me, and smiled, for a moment I thought it was the end of all things. Rachel, he is the image of my boy, my George.
My dear.
And Rachel, it will hurt to see him again.
I understand, my dear. My dear, I'm beginning to see, to understand so much. 10 years ago, all things being equal, Jimmy might have been George. Isn't that so?
Why, yes, if I understand you.
I guess that doesn't sound very clear. It's only getting clear to me little by little. Do you mind my thinking out loud to you?
No, chickabiddy.
If Jimmy went south now and grew up, he might be a George.
Yes.
Then the South is full of tens, hundreds, thousands of little boys who one day may be, and some of them with certainty, Georges.
Yes, Rachel.
And the little babies, the dear little helpless babies being born today, now, and those who will be tomorrow, and all the tomorrows to come, have that sooner or later to look forward to. They will laugh and play and sing and be happy and grow up perhaps and be ambitious just for that.
Yes, Rachel.
Then everywhere throughout the South, there are hundreds of dark mothers who live in fear. Terrible, suffocating fear, whose rest by night is broken and whose joy by day in their babies on their heart is 3 parts pain. Oh, I know this is true, for this is the way I should feel if I were little Jimmy's mother. How horrible. Why? It would be more merciful to strangle the little things at birth. And so this nation, this white Christian nation, has deliberately set its curse upon the most beautiful, the most holy thing in all of life, motherhood. Why it makes you doubt God.
Oh, hush. Hush, little girl, hush.
Why, my dear, you know, you were a mother, George's mother. Oh, my dear, my dear.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of Act 1. We will be taking a 2-minute break and we'll return at 8:41.
Rachel.
What is it, Jimmy boy?
3 guesses, Ma Rachel. 3 guesses.
Well, let's see. Maybe there is a circus in town.
No, siree. You're not right. You're not right.
Well, maybe Ma Loving's going to take you somewhere.
No, it's...
You said I could have 3 guesses, honey. I've only had 2.
Well, I thought you had 3. How many are 3?
1, 2, 3. I've only had 1, 2. See? Perhaps Uncle Tom is going to give you some candy.
No. I leaned over the bathtub, way over, and got hold of the chain with the button on the end and dropped it into the little round place at the bottom. And then I runned lots and lots of water into the tub and climbed over and fell in, splash, just like a big stone, and took a bath all by myself, alone.
All by yourself, honey? And you ran the water too, boy, not runned it. What I want to know is, where was my lovin' all this time?
I stole in creepy creep and looked at Ma Loving, and she was awful fast asleep. Ma Rachel, I'm an awful big boy now, aren't I? I are almost a man, aren't I?
Oh boy, I'm getting tired of correcting you. I am almost a man, am I not? Jimmy boy, what will Ma Rachel do if you grow up? Why, I won't have a little boy anymore. Honey, you mustn't grow up. Do you hear me? You mustn't.
Oh, yes, I must. And you'll have me just the same, Ma Rachel. I'm going to be a policeman and make lots of money for you and Ma Loving and Uncle Tom. And I'm going to buy you some trains and fire engines and little cunning ponies and some rabbits and some great, enormous banks full of money, lots of it. And then we're going to live in a great big castle and eat lots of ice cream all the time and drink lots and lots of nice pink lemonade.
What a generous Jimmy boy. Before I give you morning kiss, I must see how clean my boy is. Jimmy, you are sweet and clean enough to eat. Now, the hands. Oh, Jimmy, look at those nails. Oh, Jimmy, honey, get my file off of my bureau and go to Ma Loving. She must be awake by this time. Why, honey, what's the matter with your feet?
I don't know. I thought they looked kind of queer myself. What's the matter with them?
You have your shoes on the wrong feet.
Isn't that most funny? Oh, I'm a case, aren't I? Or, I mean, am I not, Ma Rachel?
Yes, honey, a great big case of molasses. Come, you must hurry now and get dressed. You don't want to be late for school, you know.
Oh, Ma Rachel, I've been making something for you all morning, ever since I waked up. It's awful nice. It's, stoop down, Ma Rachel, please. A great big Good morning, dearie. How's my little girl this morning? Why, where's Tom? I was certain I heard him running the water in the tub some time ago.
Tom isn't up yet. Have you seen Jimmy?
Jimmy? No. I didn't know he was awake even.
Well, what do you think of that? I sent the young gentleman to you a few minutes ago for help with his nails. He is very much grown up this morning, so I suppose that explains why he didn't come to you. Yesterday, all day, you know, he was a puppy. No one knows what he will be by tomorrow. All of this, my dear, is preliminary to telling you that Jimmy boy has stolen a march on you this morning.
Stolen a march? How?
It appears that he took his bath all by himself, and as a result, he is so conceited, he cocks aren't in it with him.
I heard the water running and thought, of course, it was Tom. Why, the little rascal. I must go and see how he has left things. I was just about to wake him up.
Rheumatism's not much better this morning? Tell me the truth, my dear. Did you or did you not try that liniment I bought you yesterday?
Well, Rachel, you see, it was this way. I was so tired last night. I really forgot it.
I thought as much. Shame on you.
As soon as I walk around a bit, it will be all right. It always is. It's bad when I first get up. That's all. I'll be spry enough in a few minutes. Rachel, I don't know why the thought should strike me, but how very strangely things turn out. If anyone had told me 4 years ago that Jimmy would be living with us, I should have laughed at him. Then it hurt to see him. Now, it would hurt not to. Rachel, sometimes I wonder if perhaps God hasn't relented a little and given me back my boy, my George.
The whole thing was strange, wasn't it?
Yes, God's ways are strange and often very beautiful. Perhaps all would be beautiful if we only understood.
God's ways are certainly very mysterious. Why, of all the people in this apartment house, should Jimmy's father and mother be the only two to take the smallpox and the only two to die? It's queer.
It doesn't seem like 2 years ago, does it?
2 years, my dear. Why, it's the 3rd of January.
Are you sure, Rachel?
I don't believe I could ever forget that, my dear.
No, I suppose not. That is one of the differences between youth and old age. Youth attaches tremendous importance to dates. Old age does not.
My dear, don't talk like that. You're not old.
Oh, yes, I am, dearie. It's 60 long years since I was born. And I am much older than that. Much older.
Please, my dear, please.
Very well, dearie. I won't say it anymore. By the way, how does Tom strike you these days?
Oh, the same old bantering, cheerful Tom. Why?
I know he's all that, dearie, but it isn't possible for him to be really cheerful. When you were little, we mothers can kiss away all the trouble. But when you grow up and go out into the world and get hurt, we are helpless. There is nothing we can do.
Don't worry about Tom, my dear. He's game. He doesn't show the white feather.
Did you see him when he came in last night?
Yes?
Had he had any luck?
No. My dear, we may as well face it. It's hopeless, I'm afraid.
I'm afraid you are right. Well, I'll go and see how Jimmy has left things and wake up Tom if he isn't awake already. It's the waking up in the mornings that's hard.
Good morning, Mary Sunshine. Have you perhaps taken a prolonged draught of that very delightful beverage, vinegar? I take it all back, I'm sure. May I request humbly that before I press my chaste morning salute upon your forbidding lips, that you in some way rid yourself of that knife? I thank you. What's the matter with my little sis?
Tommy, dear, don't mind me. I'm getting wicked, I guess. At present, I feel just like curdled milk. Once upon a time, I used to have quite a nice disposition, didn't I, Tommy?
Did you indeed? I'm not going to flatter you. Well, brace yourself, old lady. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Mwah! You're a pretty decent little sister. That's what T. Loving thinks about it. And he knows a thing or two. Yeah. Uh, has the paper come yet?
Yes. Here.
What can may T. Loving be of any service to you?
Service. How?
May he run, say, any errands, set the table, cook breakfast, anything?
You look like working.
It's at least polite to offer.
You can't do anything. I don't trust you to do it right. You may just sit there and read your paper and try to behave yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, big fellow, what's this?
Morning. Good morning, Tommy.
Hey, Mom.
Come. Morning, sweetheart. Come, children. Rachel has the breakfast on the table.
Uncle Tom,
Sir?
I took a bath this morning all by myself, alone in the bathtub. And I ran, I think, the water all in it and got in all by myself. And Ma Loving thought it was you, but it was me.
See here, young man, this won't do. Don't you know I'm the only one who's allowed to do that here? It's a perfect waste of water is what it is.
Oh, no, you're not the only one, because Ma Loving and Ma Rachel and me all takes baths every single morning. So there.
You embarrass me. Young gentleman, your mouth is open. Close it, sir, close it.
Tom, you're as big a child exactly as Jimmy.
You compliment me. I thank you, I am sure.
I'm through, Ma Rachel.
Jimmy, you're a big boy now, aren't you? I wonder if you're big enough to wash your own hands this morning.
Yes, ma'am. Please untie my napkin, Ma Rachel.
If they're beautifully clean, I'll give you another penny.
Excuse me, please.
Certainly.
Certainly. Rachel, do you know what day this is?
Yes, my dear.
Tom,
Yes, Ma.
we must never, as long as we live, forget this day.
No, my dear.
No, Ma. I hear people talk about God's justice, and I wonder, there are you, Ma. There's been a sacrifice that you haven't made. You're still working your fingers to the bone, sewing, just so all of us may keep on living. Rachel is a graduate in domestic science. She was high in her class. Most of the girls below her in rank have positions in the schools. I'm an electrical engineer. I've tried steadily for months to practice my profession. It seems our educations aren't of much use to us. We aren't allowed to make good because our skins are dark. And in the South today, there are white men. They have everything. They're well-dressed, well-fed, well-housed. They're prosperous in business. They're important politically. They're pillars in the church. I know all this is true. I've inquired. Their children, our ages, some of them, are growing up around them. And they are having a square deal handed out to them. College, position, wealth, and best of all, freedom without galling restrictions to work out their own salvations. With ability, they may become anything. And all of this will be true of their children's children after them. Look at us and look at them. Their children are destined to succeed. We're destined to failure. Their children shall grow up in hope, ours in despair. Our hands are clean. Their hands are red. Red with the blood of an innocent man, a noble man, and an innocent boy. They're nothing but low, cowardly, bestial murderers. The scum of the earth shall succeed. God's justice, I suppose.
Promise me one thing.
What is it, Ma?
That you'll try not to lose faith in God. I've been where you are now, and it's black. Tom, we don't understand God's ways. My son, I know now. He is beautiful. Tom, won't you try to believe again?
I'll try, Ma.
Each one, I suppose, has to work out his own salvation. Rachel, get Jimmy. I'll take him to school. I've got to go downtown shopping for a customer this morning.
Hello, big fella. Where are you taking my mind? I'd like you to know. This is a pretty kettle of fish.
Are you funny, Uncle Tom? Why, I'm not taking her anywhere. She's taking me. I'm going to school.
Big fella, come here. Now, where's that penny I gave you? No, I don't want to see it. All right. Did I give you another? I wish you to promise me solemnly. Now listen. Here, don't wriggle so. Not to buy. Listen. Too many pints of ice cream with my penny. Understand?
Yes, Uncle Tom. Cross my tummy, I promise.
Well, there you may go. I guess that will be all for now. Well,
isn't you forgetting something?
bless my stars. What now?
Well, if you could kind of lean over this way. No, not that way. No, this way, this way, this way.
Why didn't you say so at first?
Goodbye, dear old Uncle Tom. I likes to be hugged like that. I can taste sausages.
You embarrassed me, son. Here, Ma, take your boy. Now remember what I told you, Jimmy.
I members.
God bless you, Tom. Good luck.
God bless you, Uncle Tom. Good luck.
Thank you. Goodbye. John. I wonder what's up. It's rather early for him. I'll go.
Well, stranger, how does it happen you're out so early this morning?
I hadn't seen any of you for a week and thought I'd come by on my way to work and find out how things are going. There's no need in asking how you are, Rachel. And the mother and the boy?
My dear's rheumatism still holds on. Jimmy's fine.
I'm sorry to hear that your mother's not well. There isn't a remedy going that my mother doesn't know about. I'll get her advice and let you know. Well, Tom, how goes it?
Well, there's plenty of go, but no get there.
I was hoping to hear better news.
If I remember rightly, not so many years ago, you tried and failed. Then a colored man could hardly had a chance, a ghost of a show. And now he hasn't even a ghost of a ghost.
That's true enough. What are you going to do?
I'll do this little going act of mine the rest of the week. And then I'll do anything I can get to do. If necessary, I suppose. I could be a white wing.
Tom, I came 6 years ago. I found I was up against the stone wall. Your experience, you see, to the letter. I couldn't let my mother starve, so I became a waiter. I studied waiting. I made a science of it, an art. In a comparatively short time, I'm a head waiter, and I'm up against another stone wall. I've reached my limit. I'm 32 now, and I'll die a head waiter. College friends, so-called, and acquaintances used to come into the restaurant. One or two at first attempted to commiserate with me. They didn't do it again. I waited upon them. I did my best. Many of them tipped me. I can remember my first tip still. They come in, yet many of them are already powers, not only in this city, but in the country. Some of them make a special request that I wait upon them. I'm an artist now, in my proper sphere. They tip me well, extremely well. The larger the tip, the more pleased they are with me. Because of me, in their own eyes, they're philanthropists. Amusing, isn't it? I can stand their attitude now. My philosophy, learned hard, is to make the best of everything you can and go on. At best, life isn't so very long. You're wondering why I'm telling you all this. I wish you to see things exactly as they are. There are many disadvantages and some advantages in being a waiter. My mother can live comfortably. I'm able even to see that she gets some of the luxuries. Tom, it's this way. I can always get you a job as a waiter. I'll teach you the art. If you care to begin at the end of the week, all right. And remember this, as long as I keep my job, this offer holds good.
I thank you. I guess it's safe enough to say you'll see me at the end of this week. John,
Hear the racket? My kitty's gently begging for admittance. It's about 20 minutes of 9, isn't it?
Look at my hair. Look what I did. Wait, the same colors. Oh, Miss Rachel, it's my turn to get morning kiss first this morning, Miss Rachel. You kissed Louise first yesterday. You said you kissed us alphabetically. You promised.
Mwah.
Now me.
Mwah. You children will pull me limb from limb, and then I'll be dead and you'll be sorry. See if you aren't. Edith, come here this minute and let me tie your hair ribbon again. Nancy, I'm ashamed of you. I saw you trying to pull it off. Louise, you look as sweet this morning. And Jenny, where did you get that pretty dress?
My mother made it. My mother says I have a very bad cold.
I have a pretty little flower.
Honey, it's beautiful. Do you want morning kiss too?
As I do.
Come, honey. Mwah. Are you going to give the pretty flower to Jenny's teacher? Is it for mother? Is it for, let's see, daddy? I give up. To whom are you going to give the pretty flower, honey?
Ooh.
You, darling?
Mother and I picked it for ooh. Here it is.
Well, I'm going to pay you with 3 big kisses. 1, mwah, 2, mwah, 3. Mwah.
I can count. 1, 2, 3. Can't I? I'm going to school soon and I want to put the flower in your hair.
All right, baby.
Miss Rachel, the idle flower loves you. It told me so. It said it wanted to lie in your hair. And it's going to tell you a pretty little secret. You listen awful hard and you'll hear. I wish I were a fairy and had a little wand. I would turn everything into flowers. Wouldn't that be nice, Miss Rachel?
Oh, lovely, honey.
If I were a fairy and had a wand, I'd turn you, Miss Rachel, into a queen, and then I'd always be near you and see you were happy.
Honey, how beautiful.
I'd make my mother happy if I were a fairy. She cries all the time, and my father can't get anything to do.
If I were a fairy, I'd turn a boy in my school into a spider.
Ew!
Honey, why?
I tell you sometime, I hate him. Where's Jimmy, Miss Rachel?
He went long ago, and Chickies, you'll have to clear out. All of you now, or you'll be late. Shoo, shoo.
Hi, Miss Rachel.
Bye-bye.
Does it ever strike you how pathetic and tragic a thing a little colored child is?
Yes.
Today, we colored men and women everywhere are up against it. Every year, we're having a harder time of it. In the South, they make it impossible as they can for us to get an education. We're hemmed in on all sides. Our one safeguard, the ballot in most states, is taken away already, or is being taken away. Economically, in a few lines, we have a slight show, but at what a cost? In the North, they make a pretense of liberality. They give us the ballot and a good education and then snuff us out. Each year, the problem just to live gets more difficult to solve. How about these children, if we're fools enough to have any?
That part is damnable.
It's later than I thought. I'll have to be pulling out now, if you don't mind. Rachel, I've got to go now, sis. I leave John in your hands.
I've got to go myself in a few minutes.
Nonsense, man. Sit still. I'll begin to think in a minute you're afraid of the ladies.
I am.
What? And not ashamed to acknowledge it?
No.
You're wiser than I dreamed. So long. Salutamus Moritori.
John,
Well,
I listened
listened to what?
to you and Tom.
Well, what of it?
I didn't think it was quite fair not to tell you. It seemed like, well, like eavesdropping.
Don't worry about it. Nonsense.
I'm glad. I want to thank you for what you did for Tom. He needs you and will need you. You'll help him?
Rachel, each one has his own little battles. I'll do what I can, after all. An outsider doesn't help much.
But friendship, just friendship helps.
Yes. Rachel, do you hear anything encouraging from the schools? Any hope for you yet?
No, nor ever will be. I know that now. There's no more chance for me than there is for Tom, or than there was for you, or for any of us with dark skins. It's lucky for me that I love to keep house and cook and sew. I'll never get anything else. Madira's sewing, the little work Tom has been able to get, and the little sewing I sometimes get to do keep us from the poorhouse. We live, according to your philosophy, I suppose, make the best of it. It might be worse.
You don't want to get morbid over these things, you know?
That's it. If you see things as they are, you're either pessimistic or morbid.
In the long run, do you believe that attitude of mind will be beneficial to you? I'm 10 years older than you. I tried your way. I know mine is the only sane one.
But John, don't.
Perhaps if you had a little more fun in your life, your point of view would be more normal. I'll arrange it so I can take you to some theater one night this week.
You talk as though I were a jellyfish. You'll take me? How do you know I'll go?
You will.
Indeed. Yeah, I wonder if you know how maddening you are. Why, you talk as though my will counts for nothing. It's as if you're trying to master me. I think a domineering man is detestable.
If he's perhaps the man.
Yeah, besides, some of these theaters put you off by yourself as though you had leprosy. I'm not going.
You know I wouldn't ask you to go under those circumstances. Well, I must be going now. Rachel, I'm coming back to see you this evening.
I'm sure we'll all be very glad to see you.
I said you. Goodbye, little Rachel. Until tonight.
May I sit down? I'm tired.
Why, certainly.
No, you don't know me. Never even heard of me, nor I of you. I was looking at the vacant flat on this floor and I saw your name on your door. Loving. It's a strange name to come across in this world. I thought perhaps you might give me some information.
I'll be glad to tell you anything I'm able, Ms.
Layton. What I want to know is, how do they treat the colored children in the school I noticed around the corner?
Very well, I'm sure.
What reason have you for being sure?
Why, the little boy I've adopted goes there, and he's very happy. All the children in this apartment house go there too, and I know they're happy.
How many colored children there are in the school?
Why, I should guess about 30.
I see. What color is this little adopted boy of yours?
Why, he's brown.
Any black children there?
Why, yes.
Do you mind if I send Ethel over by the piano to sit?
No, certainly not.
She won't go to you. She's afraid of everybody now but her father and I. Come, Ethel. Sit down, Ethel. I'm not going to leave you. I'll be right here. You can see me. Do you mind if we sit over by the sewing machine? Thank you.
Does Ethel like apples, Miss Lane?
Yes.
Do you mind if I give her one?
No, thank you very much.
Here, dear little girl, is a beautiful apple for you.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid she won't take it from you. Ethel, the kind lady has given you an apple. Thank her nicely. Here, I'll spread the napkin for you, and I'll put the plate in your lap. Thank the lady like a good little girl. Thank you. I've got to move. It's Ethel.
What is the matter with that child? It's heartbreaking to see her.
I understand how you feel. I don't feel anything myself anymore. My husband and I are poor and black. Ethel looks like her father more than she does like me. We live in 55th Street near the railroad. It's a poor neighborhood, but the rent's cheap. My husband is a porter in a store, and to help out, I'm a caretaker. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. We had a nice little home and the three of us were happy. Now we've got to move.
Move? Why?
Ethel. I put her in school this September. She stayed 2 weeks. That's the result.
You mean that's just 2 weeks in school did that?
Yes. Ethel never had a sick day in her life before. I took her to the doctor at the end of 2 weeks. He says she's a nervous wreck.
But what could they have done to her?
I'll tell you what they did the first day. Ethel is naturally sensitive and backwards. She's not assertive. The teacher saw that, and after I had left, told her to sit in a seat in the rear of the class. She was alone there, in a corner. The children, immediately feeling there was something wrong with Ethel because of the teacher's attitude, turned and stared at her. When the teacher's back was turned, they whispered about her, pointed their fingers at her, and tittered. The teacher divided the class into 2 parts. Divisions, I believe they're called. She forgot all about Ethel, of course, until the last minute. Then, looking back, said sharply, "That little girl may join this division," meaning the group of people standing around her. Ethel naturally moved slowly. The teacher called her sulky and told her to lose a part of her recess. When Ethel came up, the children drew away from her in every direction. She was left standing alone. The teacher then proceeded to give a lesson about kindness to animals. Funny, isn't it? Kindness to animals. The children forgot Ethel in the excitement about talking of their pets. Presently, the teacher turned to Ethel and said disagreeably, "Have you a pet?" Ethel said yes, very low. "Come, speak up, you sulky child. What is it?" Ethel said, "A blind puppy." They all laughed. The teacher and all. Strange, isn't it? But Ethel loves that puppy. She spoke up. "It's mean to laugh at a little blind puppy. I'm glad he's blind." This remark brought forth more laughter. The teacher asked, "Why are you glad?" Ethel refused to say. When I asked her why, do you know what she told me? If he saw me, he might not love me anymore. Did I tell you that Ethel's only 7 years old?
I didn't believe anyone could be as cruel as that. To a child?
Very pleasant, is it? When the teacher found out that Ethel wouldn't answer, she said severely, "Take your seat." At recess, all the children went out. Ethel could hear them playing and laughing and shrieking. Even the teacher went too. She was made to sit there all alone in that big room because God made her black. When recess was half over, the teacher came back. "You may go now," she said coldly. Ethel didn't stir. "Did you hear me?" "Yes'm." "Why don't you obey?" "I don't want to go out, please." "You don't, do you, you stubborn child? Go immediately." Ethel went. She stood by the school steps. No one spoke to her. The children near her moved away in every direction. They stopped playing, many of them, and watched her. They stared as only children can stare. Some began whispering about her. Presently, one child came up and ran her hand roughly over Ethel's face. She looked at her hand and Ethel's face and ran screaming back to the others, "It won't come off! See?" Other children followed the first child's example. Then one boy spoke up loudly, "I know what she is. She's a nigger." Many took up the cry. God or the devil interfered and the bell rang. The children filed in. One boy boldly called her nigger before the teacher. She said, "That isn't nice," but she smiled at the boy. Things went on about the same for the rest of the day. At the end of school, Ethel put on her hat and coat. The teacher made her hang them at a distance from the other pupils' wraps and started for home. Quite the crowd escorted her. They called her nigger all the way. I made Ethel go the next day. I complained to the authorities. They treated me lightly. I was determined not to let them force my child out of school. At the end of 2 weeks, I had to take her out.
I never in all my life heard anything so pitiful.
Did you ever go to school here?
Yes, I was made to feel my color, but I never had an experience like that.
How many years ago were you in the graded schools?
Oh, around 10?
10 years? Every year things are getting worse. Last year wasn't as bad as this. So, they treat the children all right in this school?
Yes, I know that.
I can't afford to take this flat here, but I'll take it. I'm going to have Ethel educated. Although, when you think of it, it's all rather useless, this education. What are our children going to do with it when they get it? We strive and sacrifice to educate them, and the whole time down underneath, we know they'll have no chance.
Yes, that's true, all right. God seems to have forgotten us.
God? It's all a lie about God, I know. This fall, I sent Ethel to a white Sunday school near us. She received the same treatment there she did at the day school. Her being there nearly broke up the school. At the end, the superintendent called her to him and asked her if she didn't know of some nice colored Sunday school. He told her she must feel out of place and uncomfortable there. That's your Church of God.
How unspeakably brutal. Have you any other children?
Hardly. If I had another, I'd kill it. It's kinder. Well, I must go now. Thank you for your information and for listening. You aren't married, are you?
No.
Don't marry. That's my advice. Come, Ethel. Say goodbye to the lady.
Goodbye.
Dear little girl, won't you let me kiss you goodbye? I love little girls. Oh, no child ever did that to me before.
Perhaps when we move in here the first of the month, things may be better. Thank you again. Good morning. You don't belie your name.
Yes? All right, bring it up. John, what are we to do? I'm afraid. Everywhere it's the same thing. My mother, my little brother, little black crushed Ethel. Oh God, you who I have been taught to believe are so good, so beautiful. How could you permit these things? Dear little rosebuds, you make me think of sleeping, curled up, happy babies. Dear beautiful rosebuds, when I look at you, I believe God is beautiful. He who can make a little exquisite thing like this. And this can't be cruel. Oh, he can't mean me to give up love and the hope of little children. Oh, my Jimmy, it must be 12 o'clock. I didn't dream it was so late. The world can't be so bad. I don't believe it. I won't. I must forget that little girl. My little Jimmy is happy. And today, John sent me beautiful rosebuds. Oh, there are lovely things yet. Well, honey, how was school today?
All right, Ma Rachel. Oh, look at the lovely flowers. Oh, why, Ma Rachel, you forgot to put them in water. They'll die.
Well, so they will. Hop down this minute and I'll put them in right away. There, honey. That's better, isn't it? Aren't they lovely?
Yes, that's lots better. They won't die now, will they? Rosebuds are just like little children, aren't they, Ma Rachel? If you're good to them, they'll grow up into lovely roses, won't they? And if you hurt them, they'll die. Ma Rachel, Do you think all peoples are kind to little rosebuds?
Why, of course. Who could hurt little children? Who could have the heart to do such a thing?
If you hurt them, it would be lots kinder, wouldn't it? To kill them all at once and not a little bit and a little bit.
Why, honey boy, why are you talking like this?
Well, Rachel, what's a nigger?
Honey boy, why do you ask that?
Some big boys called me that when I came out of school just now. They said, "Look at that nigger," and they laughed. And one of them ran after me and threw stones, and they kept calling, "Nigger, nigger, nigger." And one of the stones struck me hard in the back. It hurt awful bad. But I didn't cry. Ma Rachel, I wouldn't let them make me cry. And the stone, it hurts here, but what they called me hurts. And it hurts here. What's a nigger, Ma Rachel?
What? Honey boy, those boys didn't mean anything. Silly little honey boy. They're rough, that's all. How could they mean anything?
You're only saying that, Ma Rachel, so I won't be hurt. I know. It wouldn't ache like it does if they didn't mean something.
Where's Mary, honey?
She's in her flat. She came in just after I did.
Well, honey, I'm going to give you 2 big cookies and 2 to take to Mary. And you may stay in there and play with her till I get your lunch ready. Won't that be jolly?
Why, you never give me but 1 at a time. You'll give me 2? 1, 2?
Shoo, now, little honey boy, see how many laps you can make for me before I come after you here. Have a good time now. Shoo, shoo, get out of here quickly, little chicken. First, it's little black Ethel, and then it's Jimmy. Tomorrow it'll be some other little child. The blight, sooner or later, strikes all. My little Jimmy, only 7 years old, poisoned. And once centuries ago, it must have been, how can life be so terrible when there are little children in the world? Terrible. Terrible. That's the reason it is so terrible. And suddenly, someday, from out of the black, the blight shall descend and shall still forever the laugh on those little lips and in those little hearts. And the loveliest thing almost that ever happened to me, that beautiful voice in my dream, those beautiful words. Rachel, you are to be a mother to little children. My God, you were making a mock of me. You were laughing at me. I didn't believe God could laugh at our sufferings, but he can. We are accursed. Accursed. We have absolutely nothing. No, little rosebuds. I may not touch you. Dear little baby rosebuds, I am accursed. You, God, you terrible laughing God, listen. I swear, and may my soul be damned to all eternity if I do break this oath. I swear that no child of mine shall ever lie upon my breast, for I will not have it rise up in the terrible days that are to be and call me cursed. Never to know the loveliest thing in all the world, the feel of a little head, the touch of little hands, the beautiful, utter dependence of a little child. You can laugh, oh God. Well, so can I. But I can be kinder than you. If I kill you, mighty God, I kill at once. I do not torture.
Well, who's the giddy one in this family now?
I don't like it. It worries me. Rachel,
Have you found out yet?
really, Rachel? Rachel, Jimmy will be so excited he won't be able to sleep. It's after his bedtime now. Don't you think you had better stop?
All right, my dear. Come on, Jimmy, let's play old folks and sit by the fire.
Thanks, big fella. You are sure some strong. I remember you when these people around here come for me to move pianos and such things around. Shake?
I am awful strong, am I not?
You sure are a Hercules. And see here, don't ask me tonight who that was. I'll tell you first thing tomorrow morning. Here?
Come on, honey boy, and sit in my lap.
Well, I thought we were going to play old folks.
We are.
Do old folks sit in each other's laps?
Old folks do anything. Come on.
Oh, Ma Rachel, don't please. I like your hair like that. You're pretty. I like the feel of it. It feels like, like a barn.
My, how complimentary. I like that. Like a barn indeed.
What's complimentary?
Oh, saying nice things about me. That my hair is like a barn, for instance.
Oh, well, that is complimentary. It smells like hay, like the hay in the barn you took me to one day last summer. Remember?
Yes, honey.
Now, Rachel.
Well?
Tell me a story, please. It's story time now, isn't it?
Well, let's see. Once upon a time, there were two dear little boys, and they were all alone in the world. They lived with a cruel old man and woman who made them work hard, very hard, all day, and then beat them when they did not move fast enough, and always every night before they went to bed. They slept in an attic on a rickety narrow bed that went screech, screech whenever they moved. And in summer, they nearly died with the heat up there, and in winter, the cold. One wintry night, when they were both weeping very bitterly after a particularly hard beating, they suddenly heard a pleasant voice saying, "Why are you crying, little boys?" They looked up, and there, in the moonlight by their bed, was the dearest little old lady. She was dressed all in gray from the peak of her little pointed hat to her little buckled shoes. She held a black cane much taller than her little self. Her hair fell about her ears in tiny gray corkscrew curls, and they bobbed about as she moved. Her eyes were black and bright as, well, that lovely white light there. No, there. And her cheeks were as red as the apple I gave you yesterday. Do you remember?
Yes.
Why are you crying, little boys? She asked again in a lovely, low little voice. Because we are tired and sore and hungry and cold, and we're all alone in the world, and we don't know how to laugh anymore. We should so like to laugh again. Why, that's easy, she said. It's just like this. And she laughed a little joyous musical laugh. Try, she commanded. They tried, but their laughing boxes were very rusty and they made horrid sounds. Well, she said, I advise you to pack up and go away as soon as you can to the land of laughter. You'll soon learn there, I can tell you. Is there such a land? They asked doubtfully. To be sure there is, she answered the least bit sharply. We never heard of it, they said. How do you get to the land of laughter? You go out of the eastern gate of the town just as the sun is rising, and you take the highway there and follow it. And if you go with it long enough, it will bring you to the very gates of the land of laughter. It's a long, long way from here, and it will take you many days. The words had scarcely left her mouth when lo, the little lady disappeared. And where she had stood was the white square of moonlight, nothing else. And without more ado, these two little boys put their arms around each other and fell fast asleep. And in the gray, just before daybreak, they awoke and dressed, and putting on their ragged cap and mittens, for it was a wintry day, they stole out of the house and made for the eastern gate. And just as they reached it and passed through, the whole east leapt into fire. He was tall and imposing looking and very dignified, and he said, "Where are you going so fast, little boys?" "We are going to the land of laughter," they said very seriously. "What?" he said. "That is an extremely foolish thing to do. Come with me and I will give you power. I will make you great men, generals, kings, emperors, whatever you desire to accomplish will be permitted you." And they smiled politely. "Thank you very much, but we have forgotten how to laugh, and we're going there to learn how." He looked upon them haughtily without speaking and disappeared. They walked more days, and at last they came to the land of laughter. And how do you suppose they knew this? Because they could hear over the wall the joyous sound of laughter, the laughter of men, women, and children. And one sat guarding the gate, and they went to her. "We have come a long, long distance, and we would enter the land of laughter." "Let me see you smile first," she said gently. "I sit at the gate, and no one who does not know how to smile may enter the land of laughter." And they tried to smile, but could not. "Go away and practice," she said kindly, "and come back tomorrow." And they went away and practiced all night how to smile. And in the morning they returned, and the gentle lady at the gate said, "Dear little boys, have you learned how to smile?" And they said, "We have tried. How was this?" Better," she said, "much better. Practice some more and come back tomorrow." And they went away obediently and practiced. And they came the third day, and she said, "Now try again." And tears of delight came into her lovely eyes. "Those were very beautiful smiles," she said. "Now you may enter." And she unlocked the gate and kissed them both, and they entered the land, the beautiful land of laughter. Never had they seen such blue skies, such green trees and grass. Never had they heard such bird songs, and people, men, women, and children laughing softly came to meet them and took them in and made them as home. And soon, very soon, they learned to sleep. And they grew up there and married and had laughing, happy children. And they grew old laughing. And when they died, a laugh was on their lips. Thus are things in the beautiful land of laughter.
I like that story, Ma Rachel. It's nice to laugh, isn't it? Is there such a land?
What do you think, honey?
I think it would be awful nice if there were. Don't you?
If there only were, if there only were.
Ma Rachel,
Well,
it makes you think, kind of, doesn't it, of sunshine medicine?
yes, honey, but it isn't medicine there. It's always there, just like, well, like our air here. It's always sunshine there.
Always sunshine? Never any dark?
No, honey.
You'd never be afraid there, then, would you? Never afraid of nothing?
No, honey.
Oh. Oh, I wished it were here and not there. Why, Ma Rachel, dear, you're crying. Your face is all wet. Why? Well, don't cry. Don't cry.
Do you remember that I told you the lady at the gate had tears of joy in her eyes when the two dear little boys smiled that beautiful smile?
Yes.
Well, these are tears of joy, honey. That's all. Tears of joy.
It must be awful queer to have tears of joy because you're happy. I never did. But if you say they are, dear Ma Rachel, they must be. You knows everything, don't you?
Some things, honey, some things.
This is the beautifulest night I ever knew. If you would do just one more thing, it would make it lots more beautiful. Will you, Ma Rachel?
Oh, what, honey?
Will you sing? At the piano, I mean. It's lots prettier that way. The little song you used to rock me to sleep by? You know, the one about the slumber boat?
Oh, honey, not tonight. You're too tired. It's bedtime now.
Oh, please, Ma Rachel, please. Pretty please.
Well, honey boy, this once then. Tonight, you shall have the little song I used to sing you to sleep by. Perhaps for the last time.
Why, Ma Rachel? Why the last time?
The last time. Sail, baby, sail out from that sea. Only don't forget to sail back again to me. Well, honey, how did you like it?
It was lovely, Ma Rachel. Now I'm just beautifully sleepy. I think that perhaps I'll go to the land of laughter tonight in my dreams. I'll go in the slumber boat and come back in the morning and tell you all about it. Shall I?
Yes, honey. Only don't forget to sail back again to
Rachel! I nearly forgot. John is coming here tonight to see how you are. He told me to tell you so.
Very well, thank you. Jimmy, honey, don't go tonight. Don't go without Ma Rachel. Wait for me, honey. I do so wish to go to the land of laughter. Think of it, Jimmy. Nothing but birds always singing and flowers always blooming and skies always blue and people, all of them laughing, always laughing. You'll wait for Ma Rachel, won't you, honey?
Is there really and truly, Ma Rachel, a land of laughter?
Oh, Jimmy, let's hope so. Let's pray so.
Sweet dreams. God keep you all the night.
The sweetest of sweet dreams to you, dear little boy. Good night.
Uncle Tom.
My, how you frighten me. You'll get me to lose my gizzard out of commission if you do that often. Well, sir, what can I do for you?
I came to say good night.
Good night, dear little big fella. Good night.
Sweet dreams. God keep you all the night.
Tom,
Well,
are you? Well, I mean, won't you be home this evening?
you've got a long memory, sis. I've that engagement, you know. Why?
I forgot. So you have.
Why?
Oh, nothing. Come on, Jimmy boy. You can hardly keep those little peepers open, can you? Come on, honey.
I try to make out what could have happened, but it's no use. I can't. Those 4 days she lay in bed, hardly moving, scarcely speaking. Only her eyes seemed alive. I never saw such a wide, tragic look in my life. It was as though her soul had been mortally wounded. But how? How? What could have happened?
I don't know. She generally tells me everything, but she avoids me now. If we are alone in the room, she gets out. I don't know what it means.
She will hardly let Jimmy out of her sight. While he's at school, she's nervous and excited. She seems always to be listening, but for what? When he returns, she nearly devours him. And she always asks him in a frightened sort of way. Her face is pale and tense as can be. Well, honey boy, how was school today? And he always answers, fine, Ma Rachel, fine. I learned. And then he goes on to tell her everything that has happened. And when he has finished, she says in an uneasy sort of way, is that all? And when he says yes, she relaxes and becomes limp. After a little while, she becomes feverishly happy. She plays with Jimmy and the children more than ever she did, and she played a good deal, as you know. They're here or she's with them. Yesterday, I said in remonstrance when she came in, her face pale and haggard and black hollows under her eyes, "Rachel, remember, you just got out of a sick bed. You're not well enough to go on like this." "I know," was all she would say, "but I've got to. I can't help myself. This part of their little lives must be happy. It just must be." The last couple of nights, Jimmy has awakened and cried most pitifully. She wouldn't let me go to him, said I had enough trouble and she could quiet him. She never will let me know why he cries, but she stays with him and soothes him until at last he falls asleep again. Every time she has come out like a rag, and her face is like a dead woman's. Strange, isn't it? This is the first time we have ever been able to talk it over. Tom, what could have happened?
I don't know, Ma, but I feel as you do. Something terrible and sudden has hurt her soul and pulled the things she's trying bravely to readjust to her life again. Well, Ma, I gotta go now. Don't worry too much. Youth, gets over things finally. It takes them hard, that's all. At least that's what the older heads tell us. Ma, I begin with John tomorrow. I don't believe we'll ever forget John. Good night.
He's sleeping like a top. Aren't little children, my dear, the sweetest things when they're all helpless and asleep? One little hand is under his cheek and he's just smiling. Where's Tom?
He went out a few minutes ago.
Ma, you aren't going anywhere tonight, are you?
I've got to go out for a short time, about 8:30. Mrs. Jordan, you know. I'll not be gone very long, though. Why?
Nothing particular. I just thought it would be cozy if we could sit here together the rest of the evening. Can't you go tomorrow?
Why, I don't see how I can. I've made the engagement. It's about a new reception gown, and she's exceedingly exacting, as you know. I can't afford to lose her.
No, I suppose not. All right, my dear. Kitties, they're late this evening.
I think I hit the best.
Why so late, kitties? Long past sleepy time.
Oh, we've been playing hide and seek and having the mostest fun. We promised all of us that if we could play until 7:30 tonight, we wouldn't make any fuss about going to bed at 7 the rest of the week. It's awful hard to go. I hate to go to bed.
So do I. So do I.
I don't. I love bed. My bed, after my mother tucks me all in, is like a nice warm bag. I just stick my nose out. And when I lift my head, I can see the light from the dining room come in the door, and I can hear my mother and my father talking nice and low. And then, before I know it, I'm fast asleep. And I can dream pretty things. And in about a minute, it's morning again. I love my little bed, and I love to dream.
Well, I guess I love to dream too. I just wish I could dream, though, without going to bed.
When I grow up, I'm never going to bed at night. You'll see.
Grown-ups just love to poke their heads out of windows and cry, "Children, it's time for bed now, and you better hurry too, I can tell you." They sure are queer. For sometimes when I wake up, it must be about 12 o'clock and I can hear my big sister giggling and talking to some silly man. If it's good for me to go to bed early, I should think.
But where's my little Jenny? Excuse me, Louise, dear.
Oh, her cold is awful bad. She coughs like this. It snuffles all the time. And she can't talk out loud and she can't go to sleep. Mother says she's feverish. I think that's what she said. But Jenny says she knows she could go to sleep if you come and sit with her a little while.
I certainly will. I'll go when you do, honey.
Well, you're the very nicest grown-up, except my mother, of course, I ever knew. You know all about the little children, and you can be one, although you're all grown up. I think you would make a lovely mother, don't you?
I do, yeah.
I do.
Come, kitties. You must go now, or your mothers will blame me for keeping you. My dear, I'm going down to sit a little while with Jenny. I'll be back before you go, though. Come, kitties, come say goodnight to my mother.
Sweet
Good
dreams.
night.
Good night. God keep you all the night.
God keep you all the night.
Good night, dears. Sweet dreams all.
Well, how is everything?
Oh, about the same, I guess. Tom's out. John, we'll never forget you and your kindness.
That was nothing. And
Rachel will be back presently.
Rachel?
She went to sit. Yes, she'll be back presently. She went to sit with a sick child for a little while.
And how is she?
She's not herself yet, but I think she is better.
Well, what did happen exactly?
That's just what I don't know.
When you came home, you couldn't get in. Was that it?
Yes, it was just a week ago today. I was downtown all the morning. It was about 1 o'clock when I got back. I had forgotten my key. I rapped on the door and then called. There was no answer. A window was open, and I could feel the air under the door, and I could hear it as the draught sucked it through. There was no other sound. Presently, I made such a noise that people began to come out into the hall. Jimmy was in one of the flats playing with a little girl named Mary. He told me he had left Rachel here a short time before. She had given him 4 cookies, 2 for him and 2 for Mary, and had told him he could play with her until she came to tell him his lunch was ready. I saw he was getting frightened, so I got the little girl and her mother to keep him in their flat. Then, as no man was at home, I sent out for help. 3 men broke the door down. We found Rachel unconscious, lying on her face. For a few moments, I thought she was dead. A vase had fallen over on the table and the water had dripped through the cloth and onto the flour. There had been flowers in it. When I left, there were no flowers here. What she could have done to them, I can't say. The long stems were lying everywhere, and the flowers had been ground into the floor. I could tell that they must have been roses from the stems. After we had put her to bed and called the doctor, and she had finally regained consciousness, I very naturally asked her what had happened. All she would say was, "My dear, I'm too tired, please." For 4 days, she lay in bed, scarcely moving, speaking only when spoken to. That first day, when Jimmy came in to see her, she shrank away from him. We kept him away almost by force until she got up. And then she was utterly miserable when he was out of her sight. What happened? I don't know. She avoids Tom and she won't tell me. Tom and I both believe her soul has been hurt. The trouble isn't with her body. You'll find her highly nervous. Sometimes she is very much depressed. Again, she is feverishly gay, almost reckless. What do you think about it, John?
Had anyone been here, do you know?
No, I don't. I don't like to ask Rachel, and I can't ask the neighbors.
Of course not. You say there were some flowers?
Yes,
And the flowers were ground into the carpet.
yes,
Did you happen to notice the box? They must have come in a box, don't you think?
yes. There was a box in the kitchenette. It was from Marcy's. I saw no card.
It is rather strange.
Uh, hello, John. I thought that was your hat in the hall. It's brand new, I know, but it looks John-like. How are you? Ma, Jenny went to sleep like a little lamb. I don't like her breathing, though. Who's dead?
Dead, Rachel?
Yes. The atmosphere here is so funereal, it's positively creepy.
I don't know why it should be. I was just asking how you are.
Heavens, does the mere inquiry into my health precipitate such an atmosphere? Your two faces were as long. Kind sir, let me assure you, I am in the very best of health. And how are you, John?
Oh, I'm always well.
Rachel, I'll have to get ready to go now. John, don't hurry. I'll be back shortly, probably in 3/4 of an hour, maybe less.
And maybe more if I remember, Miss Jordan. However, my dear, I'll do the best I can while you're away. I'll try to be a credit to your training. Now, let's see. In the books of etiquette, I believe, the properly reared young lady always asks the young gentleman caller, you're young enough, aren't you, to be classed still as a young gentleman caller? Well, anyway, she always asks the young gentleman caller sweetly something about the weather. Uh, this has been an exceedingly beautiful day, hasn't it, Mr. Strong? Well, really, every properly brought up young gentleman, I'm sure, ought to know that it's exceedingly rude not to answer a civil question.
Tell me what to answer, Rachel.
Say, yes, very, and look interested and pleased when you say it.
Yes, very.
Well, I certainly wouldn't characterize that as a particularly animated remark. Besides, when you look at me through half-closed lids like that and kind of smile, what are you thinking? John Strong, are you deaf or just plain stupid?
Plain stupid, I guess.
What were you thinking, John?
I was thinking.
Well,
I've changed my mind.
you're not going to tell me.
No.
Goodbye, children. Rachel, don't quarrel so much with John. Let me see if I have my key. Yes, I have it. I'll be back shortly. Goodbye.
Goodbye, my dear. Hurry back as soon as you can, won't you? I suppose that you realize that a conversation between two persons is absolutely impossible if one has to do her share all alone. Soon my ingenuity for introducing interesting subjects will be exhausted, and then will follow what I believe the storybooks call an uncomfortable silence.
Silence between friends isn't such a bad thing.
Thanks. awfully.
Rachel, you must remember I'm here. I don't like looking into your soul when you forget you're not alone.
I hadn't forgotten.
Wouldn't it be easier for you, little girl, if you could tell someone?
No.
Rachel, you're fond of flowers, aren't you?
Yes.
Rosebuds, red rosebuds particularly.
Yes.
Did you dislike the giver?
No, of course not.
Rachel, why? Why did you kill the roses then?
Oh, John, I'm so sorry Madeira told you that. She didn't know you sent them.
So I gather. Rachel, little girl, why did you kill them?
Don't you believe it a kind of kindness sometimes to kill?
You considered it a kindness to kill them?
Yes.
Do you mean just the roses?
John, oh, must I say
Yes, little Rachel.
no?
Little girl. Little girl, can't you tell me why?
I can't. It hurts too much to talk about it yet, please.
You don't care then. Rachel, look at me, little girl. There's a little flat on 43rd Street. It faces south and overlooks a little park. Do you remember it? It's on the top floor. Once I remember you saying you liked it, but that was over a year ago. That same day I rented it. I've never lived there. No one knows about it, not even my mother. It's completely furnished now and waiting. Do you know for whom? Every single thing in it I've bought myself, even to the pins on the little bird's eye maple dresser. It's been the happiest year I've ever known. I furnished it, one room at a time. It's the prettiest, most home-like little flat I've ever seen. Everything there breathes love. Little girl, is it to be? Yes or no?
Oh, you're too good to me and mine, John. I didn't dream anyone could be so good.
Is it yes or no, little girl?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And take me quickly, John. Take me before I can think anymore. You mustn't let me think, John, and you'll be good to me, won't you? Every second of every minute of every hour of every day, and you'll have me in your thoughts, won't you? And you'll be with me every minute that you can. And John, you'll keep away the weeping children, right? You won't let me hear it, will you? You'll make me forget everything. Everything, won't you? Life is so short, John. And eternity so long. I am 22 and I am old. You're 32 and you're old. Tom's 23 and he's old. Madeira's 60. And she said once she's much older than that. She is. We're all blighted. We're all accursed, all of us, everywhere. We whose skins are dark, our lives blasted by the white man's prejudice. And my Jimmy, my little Jimmy, 7 years old, that's all, is blighted too. In a year or two at best, he will be made old by suffering. One week ago today, some white boys, older and larger than my little Jimmy, as he was leaving the school, called him nigger. They chased him through the streets calling him nigger. One boy threw stones at him. There's still a bruise on his little back where one struck him. That will get well, but they bruised his soul. And that will never get well. He asked me what nigger meant. I made light of the whole thing, laughed it off. He went to his little playmates and very naturally asked them. The oldest of them is 9, and they knew. Poor little things, and they told him. For the last couple of nights, he's been dreaming about these boys. And he always awakes in the dark, afraid of the now, in the future. I've seen that look of deadly fear in the eyes of other little children. I know what it is myself. I was 12 when some big boys chased me and called me names. I never left the house afterwards without being afraid. I was afraid in the streets, in the school, in the church, everywhere, always afraid of being hurt. And I was not afraid in vain. He's delighted. Honey, I'm right here. I'm coming in just a minute. Don't cry. If it nearly kills me to hear my Jimmy's crying, do you think I could stand it when my own child, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood, learned the same reason for weeping? Do you? Ever since I fell here a week ago, I am afraid to go to sleep. For every time I do, my children come and beg me, weeping, not to bring them here to suffer. Tonight, they came when I was awake. I promise them again now, by Jimmy's bed, I have damned my soul to all eternity if I do. Honey, don't, I'm coming. And John, dear John, you see, it can never be. All the beautiful, beautiful things you have told me about, no. They can never be now. No, John, dear, you must not touch me anymore. Dear, this is goodbye.
It's not fair to you, Rachel, to take you at your word tonight. You're sick. You've brooded so long, so continuously, you've lost your perspective. Don't answer yet. Think it over for another week and I'll come back.
No, I can't think anymore.
You realize fully you're sending me for always.
Yes.
And you care?
Yes.
It's settled then, for all time. Goodbye.
Yes.
Goodbye, dear little Rachel. God bless you.
Goodbye, John. John! John! No, no, John. Not for us. Oh, John. If it only. If it only. No, no. Sunshine. No laughter. Always, always darkness. That is it. Even our little flat, John's and mine, the little flat that calls us through darkness. It shall wait and wait in vain in darkness. Oh, John. And my children, my little children, I shall never see you now. Your little brown, beautiful bodies. I shall never see your dimples everywhere. Your laughter, your tears, the beautiful, lovely feeling of you here. Never, never to be. But you are somewhere. And wherever you are mine. You are mine. All of you. Every bit of you. Even God can't take you away. Little children. My little children. No more need you come to me weeping. Weeping. You may be happy now. You are safe. Little weeping voices. Hush, 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 hush. Jimmy, my little Jimmy, honey, I'm coming. Ma Rachel loves you so.
Amazing, incredible performance. Cast, please come to the stage. Wow. Incredible. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone. My name is Tanika Batiste. I directed this stage reading of Rachel, and I would like to introduce our cast, and then we will proceed to our post-show panel talk back. In the role of Little Mary in our Rachel understudy, we have Janelle Shante. Little Nancy in our Mrs. Lane understudy was played by Charlotte Christian. Jimmy was played by Regine Dene, as well as Martha by Regine Dene. Mrs. Lane was played by Amy Joseph. John Strong, James Glass. Tom Loving, Jordan Olivier Verde. Mrs. Loving, Elizabeth Jones. And finally, Rachel Loving was played by Anna Marie Sharp. Give them a round of applause, everyone. Incredible. I can't even speak right now. I'm like
And I'm going to take a moment to give a big shout out to as well to Tanika for directing this piece, who you all poured such passion and such heart and such soul, everything into these roles and into this very incredibly challenging script and challenging topic. And I'm just, on behalf of our board of directors and our community, thank you immensely. We will do a couple more quick thank yous to Sharon Peng, who was our costume designer, Vin Wen, who was our casting director, Barbara Henninger was our props coordinator, and the fabulous Megan Reed was our stage manager. And we just say a huge thank you to all of them. Yay, appreciate it. And you guys are welcome. And my friends who are in the audience tonight, at this point, you are welcome to unmute yourself. And if you do want to say anything or have any questions, feel free to use the chat, and I monitor that as well as kind of letting people chime in and say anything that they would like. Right now, what I would probably start with is my cast, my friends, thank you so much. If you do, one of the questions that kind of had popped into my mind was inspiration that you've had throughout your careers, your life. Are there certain performers that have inspired you on your path? Are there certain playwrights or writers that have inspired you on your journeys? And if you wanted to share some of that with us. I haven't figured out how to coordinate because there's a lot of you, but if you do, just unmute and start talking. Great.
I can just call people out.
Or you
Okay,
can just
well,
call people.
if no one else will say anything, I generally have something to say. So the honest truth is I haven't been doing this that long. So a lot of the movements that I get and the inspirations that I get are from the very first play that I was cast in, which was The Wiz. And there were a couple of people like Raina and Barbara Reynolds last night and James Creer who joined also that have been a huge inspiration. Of course, my friend Gary Stanford, been a huge inspiration for the things that I've done thus far. This is my fourth play. With that being said, this cast has greatly brought life into me, and I greatly appreciated working with everyone. You all have inspired me deeply and moved me to continue to want to continue trying this acting thing out.
Thanks, James. You were that The Wiz was performed by our friends over at Sunnyvale Community Theater, Community Players, and it was a phenomenal production. And so I have seen you. And yes, thank you so much. And James, you've got a career, so please keep performing because
Thank you.
I was gonna butt in. Oh,
no, you go.
okay. I was gonna butt in. I can say some playwrights that I've been inspired by lately. I've been reading Nottage and James Baldwin. And of course, rest in peace, Cicely Tyson, since we're talking about this. And Shakespeare. I was one of those kids that had a really good English teacher. Shout out to them, the good ones. And she really broke it down for us. And I appreciate the poetry that Shakespeare puts out too. So I'll just leave it at that.
Well, and also, yes, doubled that with the Shakespeare for sure. Well, actually, your whole list, and there are plenty of performers. I think who comes to mind immediately though would be Viola Davis because she just puts it all out there every time, every single time. As far as playwrights, to add to that list. Would be, of course, August Wilson, who was a huge voice, and his protege, who's now doing big things. I actually got to see him when he was a student at Yale School of Drama, and he wasn't a known name, but now he's an Oscar winner, among other things. That's Terrell Alvin McCraney. Dominique Morisseau is doing a lot of big things. And a big person for me. He's kind of dated, but I just love some Tennessee Williams. I love the imagery and I love the work. It's much like I think you can compare Tennessee Williams and August Wilson with how they create characters, these fully fleshed out characters at these very specific places.
I would agree with that. That 100%. Anybody else want to jump in on that one?
I just want to say Jordan took my complete list. So, and it's real lovely. I've enjoyed revisiting things, especially Tennessee Williams, not being able to quite fully appreciate. I didn't have the teachers that you had, but not being able to quite appreciate him at a younger age when it was assigned to me, but just revisiting him at different parts of life, and characters speak to me at different parts and as I've grown and matured. And it's the writing is just so intriguing and inspiring, the humanity that we're able to write about and create stories, and they can stand the test of time. That's what I really love about playwrights.
Agree. Anna, you looked like you were going to say something earlier, so I'm going to kind of nudge you just a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, playwrights, Johnny R. Love, oh man, all those works I just love. They're all beautifully tragic, just like this play. So apparently that's my thing. Anything that's beautifully tragic, because you get a bit of both worlds, and you just get just like a raw honesty, honestly. So I love Johnny R. Love. And actors, Regina King, she just does it all, honestly. Like voiceover, directing, oh, she does it all, and she deserves all her flowers. And also a personal mentor of mine, Margot Hall, who's been with me along this ride since I've been in the Bay. So yes, those two women.
Awesome. As Charlotte mentioned just a little bit, one of the biggest challenges of a playwright is withstanding the test of time. And one of the reasons that we were drawn to Rachel to begin with is the fact that it was written over 100 years ago, and the contrasts between then and now seem so very well. I guess I shouldn't speak on that so much. Are there things in Rachel that have stood to the test of time? And how, maybe the question is, in 100 years from now, can we look at this piece, do you think, as ancient history? Or where are we? I guess my hope is that we would be able to look back and say that this is a piece of history. Yeah, I sorry, there seems to be no question at the end of that statement. I guess I will say, anything in particular about Rachel, this piece that you were drawn to when you first read it, in any of your characters, or in the grand scheme of the story itself. They're heavy pieces for sure.
I had never heard of this play before until the auditions were held. And to me, it was just so profound. I was like, wow, this is a hidden piece of work. Like this entire time, I never knew it existed. And to be able to bring it to life, like to be able to act in this play, to me was just, it's very touching. And I feel like it is very relevant still. Like everyone has said, it's very timeless piece. It doesn't matter, like 100 years from now, a millennium from now, I feel like it's always going to be true that this is the history that the Black community has faced, and the perseverance through the trials of those hardships that they face. It's amazing. It's a really amazing play. I'm so glad to have been a part of it, because it is, wow. So yeah.
And to that point, I think it speaks to two different ideas: the beauty of how art is timeless, and the beauty of how, like, we even now, like, for example, we adapt Shakespeare, for example, and a lot of like TV shows and movies are really based with Shakespeare. So that part is the beauty of it. The tragic part of it is that this is not an adaptation per se. It is the same experience for the Black person I mean, it's funny when I was doing some of Thomas' monologues. Some of those monologues, one of those monologues was almost word for word repeated in "Raisin in the Sun," which was the '50s, and it is still relevant now, which is even later. It's in the 21st century. So it's a beautiful, tragic. That's also a beautiful tragedy that that art is like it is eternal, but that the tragedy is that let's hope that in 100 years or even in 8 years now that we have a new administration, that we we can look at this stuff and say, well, this is what it was, but we have so many gains since then.
Yeah. So I read the script and I shared this with the cast not too long ago. And fortunately, the name Maya K, that's my woman, my high school sweetheart. So I remember growing up, I'm born and raised in St. Louis, South St. Louis, as a matter of fact. And I had the experience of attending a program called desegregation. That was the name of the school program that I was in. I'm only 40, by the way, not 32 like the script would actually suggest. But I remember one of my first experiences in the desegregation program was in 4th grade, hearing a white kid call me nigger. And the teacher hearing the white kid call me nigger. Fast forward to when I ended up in high school, I remember hearing teachers calling us niggers. I remember not participating in my American history class. I had to retake it during the summer because of the way the teacher decided to characterize slavery and Blacks. So a lot of the script that is portrayed and enacted, a lot of the emotion, a lot of the jargon, unfortunately, is still felt, and it's continued on to this day. And like everyone continues to say, and I thoroughly agree, the hope is this becomes history, and that in 100 years, it's not still American reality, which is where we are right now. These things are still happening. So the inspiration for me in reading the script was the legitimate aspect of living a lot of what was happening in this script throughout my life.
Wow. For me, I'm only 23, but unfortunately, I have had the same kind of thoughts as Rachel of if I should even be bringing my own children into a world that treats Black people the way that it does. So for me, I had read this script a couple years ago when I was in a different show called Bull Rusher. And now getting to be a part of it was kind of almost in a way cathartic to hear that I'm not the only person that feels that way, but also to hopefully find some hope in there. Some of that Black joy that we got to see within this play was very helpful for me in that aspect.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to piggyback on what everybody was saying. The decisions in this play, I definitely think will live on. So just as she was saying, like, you make the decision to, whether you're going to be a mother or whether you're going to get in this relationship with this person or whether you're going to take this other job, 2020. So until you can get to the job that you really want, hopefully 2021, right? For the moment, or just to have, or to, enjoy those little moments of joy with pie and bread and, courting someone. I think that those things are definitely going to stick around. And I'm really happy that that stuff was in here. And yeah, that's all. That's my couple cents.
I want to say something real quick. Because folks ask me, like, why do you want to be a part of this? Like, this is such tragic, like, Black pain, suffering. And yes, a lot of that is in this script, but there's so much love and happiness and family and courtship and unity and devotion that I really feel like we press to amplify. And what saddens me about this piece in particular is that over 100 years ago, you had a woman, a Black woman, write about mental health, write about uh, giving birth, and there was just this pivot to ignore, like just a pivot. Like, we're not gonna, no, we're not. It's we don't want to showcase that. We don't want to talk about those things. And it just makes, within our community, I just wish that we're doing it now, because when you know better, you do better. But had we 100 years ago made these issues like at the forefront and just listened and said, mental health is a thing, and we just came out of slavery, and our family and roots are very important to our success. Who knows what would have happened, instead of it being like centered within the small few of us, and making it more of a like, no, we as Black Americans or Black diaspora, these are our priorities. So this is definitely in tribute to the playwright. May she rest in peace, but she definitely deserves her roses, because she was so ahead of the game. And I didn't know about this play at all until Sarah had promoted that they wanted to produce it. So it's just been a joy to learn, to see that, no, we were talking about mental health issues way back then, and we were talking about Black women being concerned about bringing life into the world. We're not just breeders, we're not just in video whatever vixens. Like, we actually have brains. We think about things, and we know the responsibility of bringing a Black child into this world. We can't just say, oh, I fell in love and I want to have a baby. No, we have to think about all these things. So I'm very happy that we got to do this. And yes, there were times I'm sure folks cried, but I'm glad you got to see some like courtship and some love, and some like politicians during, a negative monologue saying, we can't do this, we can't do this. Actually, we can. Actually, we did, and we will continue. Yeah. Relevance. Rachel is very relevant. Yes.
Tanika, we spoke early on too about the characterizations, and that one of the things that struck me was that these characters are they're wrapped in dignity and strength, and I found that incredibly powerful in the piece as well. Thank you all. I'm not seeing any questions come through the chat, and if anybody else has anything that they would like to contribute, we would love to hear from you. Other than James's fan club is all over the place. James.
So my older sister, Jadawan Glass, popped in. I saw my niece Jordan as well, which is my sister's daughter, my older sister's daughter. We lost our younger sister in August, so my other niece wasn't able to pop on. My mother chimed in, and she kind of stepped on people's feet a little bit. I'm sorry about that. I had a cousin, Che, that jumped in also, and of course, Maya. So I am extremely appreciative of the support that my family has given me.
And now everybody else is chiming in. All right, my guests, please, if you would, feel free to come on, pop on, say hi, and otherwise we will call this an evening. Thank you all so much. I'm going to take us off of our Facebook feed. So bye, Facebook, or I'm sorry, YouTube.